say there's a river flowing down the mountainside, and as it's flowing, the water's typically crystal clear. You can see the rocks on the bottom, the grass on the banks is green, and everything's vibrant. Now, if you take a log and you block that flow, the water then becomes stagnant. Then the water becomes murky. You can't quite see through it. It becomes full of parasites, disease-ridden. The foliage, the grass isn't so green, it's kind of brown. That's a blockage. And same with our energetic body. We create these blocks from certain events in our life. And so part of the work I'm doing is removing those logs theoretically so that the flow can happen. And then when the flow starts happening, and your body has this amazing ability to heal itself, but it can't really heal itself if there's not flow.
This is By Joyan Season 2. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we bring you inspiring stories, powerful message, and fun conversations with me and my special guests and friends, and it's my personal mission to empower you to live and lead a life with joy. This podcast is for you if you're looking for more joy, courage, passion, and purpose in your life. Now let's dive into today's episode and get ready to laugh, learn, and live your life to the fullest. Our guest today is an internationally renowned energy healer and spiritual guide with well over a decade of experience in holistic wellness and transformation. Originally from Portland, Oregon, he honed his unique abilities in energy healing while residing in New Zealand, where he developed techniques for clearing negative energies, closing dark portals, and channeling healing frequencies to promote harmony and positivity. Today, he specializes in remote energy clearings for individuals and properties, addressing issues like sleep disturbances, anxiety, depression, and intentional negative energy placements to help clients reset and reconnect with their true selves. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming the energy healer and the sought after speaker, the one and only Herman Patrick. Herman, good morning and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on your show. I appreciate being here.
Let's start with your journey. So we briefly talk about before the podcast, like what got you to New Zealand, what got you to study. So tell me about the journey and share with me and my listeners about the journey. What got you to do the work that you are doing today?
I was living in New Zealand. I didn't do any type of studying for this work. I think I was just open to it. And I did study a little bit of like chakra system, the different Eastern religions, some of the Western stuff. And I was really fascinated with the energies of the body. And so I kind of looked at that for several years. And then when I was living in New Zealand, I had a friend that had a house that had all kinds of crazy energies in it. And one day that I was over there, she was telling me about all of the issues in her house and like waking her up at night, not getting any sleep, and something inside me, just an instinct or whatever, just kind of went off, and a light bulb went off, and I said to myself, I walked around the house and told whatever was in there it needed to leave. Didn't really think much of it. And then a few weeks later, when I was talking to her, I asked her how her house was, and she said, well, it's funny because ever since you left, I haven't had any issues. And then I told her about what I had done. And then she proceeded to tell me that she had had 3 different like priests come in and try to work on the house, but nothing ever worked. And so then I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So then I thought, oh, I need to learn a little bit more about this. And I did a little research on some books and stuff, and just started to realize that I have this ability or this gift where I can connect with people and remove energies from them and their home. I had some friends in New Zealand that I was telling about it, and they thought I was crazy. They called me a crazy Yank. And I said, well, look, I know someone that has a sleeping issue, because everyone has a sleeping issue, or they know someone. And they said, oh yeah, our daughter. Our daughter lives in Perth, Australia. She's 24 years old. For 10 years, ever since she was 14, she's been having nightmares, and she sleepwalks, and we've taken her to several different doctors, and they say there's nothing wrong with her, but she's just being tormented every night. And I said, okay. I'm going to do the work for her, but I don't want you to tell her because I don't want you to say it's a placebo effect or whatever. And I said, just call her in another week or two and let me know how she goes. And I talked to them a couple weeks later, and they're like, you won't believe it. She hasn't had a nightmare since. And she's sleeping now, 8 to 10 hours a night. She's a different person. What did you do? That's insane. And that's what really started it. And then they told a few friends about what had happened. And then I had a phone call from one of their friends. It was a parent. They had a 5-year-old boy, same issues, nightmares every night, just a lot of fear. And I did the same thing for him instantly, no more nightmares. They told a bunch of people. I started getting calls from parents, and so then I created a website, and then I was just learning as I was going because there was really no instruction manual for this. And it's been close to 15 years now, and I've just, it's evolved, and I've gotten a lot better and better, and my reach is a lot more. I'm, reaching a lot more people, and so it's really how it started.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And so, what exactly is energy clearing?
So energy clearing is clearing the energies from your person, your energy body, or from your home or property. So if you think about it, everything is energy, everything. We're an energy, every item, everything around us is an energy. We talk different belief systems, different religions or teachings talk about energy. It could be, your spirit, your soul, your chi, your prana, whatever. But if we think of we'll call it your soul. So your soul is this energy, and it's really who you are. I classify that as an organic being. You are an organic being. Anything that attaches to your energy from the outside is an inorganic being, and those inorganic beings, they attach to us, and they feed on our energy. In fact, I classify them all as energetic parasites. And what these energetic parasites do when they attach to us is they slowly manipulate our thoughts and our emotions. And that's where it creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. And funny enough, these energetic parasites, they're feeding on our fears and our anxieties. So they're actually creating the fear and anxiety for them to feed off of that type of energy. And that's really how it works. Now, if you think about life, we're usually guided by our thoughts and our emotions. If we're being guided by our thoughts and our emotions, we want to make sure our thoughts and our emotions are coming from us, our own self, not from these energetic parasites that are leading us down this path of fear and anxiety. So energy clearing is simply removing those unwanted energetic parasites from the person and the space around them, their home or their property, whatever it may be.
The story you were sharing earlier, you told the parents not to tell their daughter, right, about the work that you're gonna do on her or for her. So how is it possible to clear someone's energy without their permission per se, or without their acknowledgement?
Yeah, it's and that's a really good question, and it is possible. And I do work with a lot of families, and so it's usually the mother that reaches out to me because she has a child that's either early adolescence or even younger or older teens, and that are struggling with anxiety or depression, and they reach out to me, and I work on the child. In most cases, the child doesn't know. As the child's older, the parents want to talk to them about it, but when they're younger, it doesn't make any sense to tell your 2-year old or 3-year old that we're going to have your energy cleared. But so how it works is it's for me, it's a gift to be able to connect with people. Think about it like, let's say you have a friend that has a mosquito on their back, and are you going to ask their permission to wave that mosquito off their back? You're just going to whack the mosquito off their back. It's a parasite. And at the same time, when you get rid of the mosquito, is that person going to ask, why is that mosquito on my back? What kind of mosquito is it? How long has it been there? What is it doing? No, it's a parasite. It just needs to go away. But to really answer your question more directly, when I connect with people from an energetic standpoint, I'm really seeking their permission from their higher self or their true self. So it's more of a soul level where I connect with their energy, and if if it's not meant to be like, if they're meant to have something, it's not for me to remove it. So before I do my work, I always connect with the person and just make sure everything's good to go. Maybe twice in 15 years I've had a not good to go scenario, but like 99.99% of the time it's, yeah, let's get rid of these things. And the people don't need to know. I mean, it might be good to know, but it doesn't change the results whether they know or not. Sometimes it works a little better when they don't know, because what happens a lot of the times is, as we grow up, we get these belief systems, and these belief systems, they kind of blind us to things. And if you say, okay, I'm going to do this for you, and the person's like, no, I don't believe in that, that's never going to work, they're really setting their intention for it not to work. All the work that I do when I'm doing my healing work is, it's me setting my intent to clear those energies and send the healing in that direction. So for me, getting permission from them is more of a soul level thing.
You specialize in remote clearing. So how does it work? How does healing work when you are not physically present with the other person?
Yeah, so it's that same school of thought that I was talking about, is me having the gift to connect with people. But the process would be, we're all really connected. And so, and to make it even more confusing for your listeners, you can tell me, my best friend's brother's girlfriend is having problems, and I don't need any other information, and I can fix the energetic issues with that person just from my connection with you, from my intent connecting with, and I'm never wrong. I don't miss and do the wrong person. So just my connection with you, from my intention to take care of what you're asking me, is how it works. It's not always it's not like a magic pill that is going to fix everyone's problems. It's more of a hitting the reset button for someone so they can kind of start fresh with their energy. Think of like a computer. If you have your computer and your memory is full, and your hard drive is full, everything's running slow, it has viruses. You take it to the computer store maybe because you don't know anything about computers, and they clear the cache, remove all the cookies, reset, you clear the hard drive, remove the viruses, hand you your computer back. Now, your computer is going to be working much faster. It's not going to be so sluggish. But if you keep going to the same websites, running the same programs, you're going to start picking up the same bugs and viruses. So the same thing goes with your energy. If we hit the reset button for your energy, but you keep doing the same things, the same habits, the same patterns, going in the same direction, you're going to run into the same energetic parasites, and they're going to attach, and they're going to slowly over the years start to manifest the way they were before. So it's not really necessarily like a magic pill to fix all, but it's more of a reset so that person can really connect to their true self. The key takeaway that I tell all my clients is, once we clear these energies, it's about getting you reconnected to your true authentic self, because so many times we're just disconnected. And the disconnection isn't always a fault of our own. It's like when we interact with people like you and me, when we're having this conversation, we have an energetic connection. It's called a cord connection. And sometimes those connections are not necessarily a positive thing. So like, let's say you have a colleague that every once in a while, every time you talk to that colleague, you feel really drained and tired. And it's like, man, every time I talk to this person, I just feel worn down. Well, that person is siphoning your energy. They're not doing it on purpose. But imagine all the people you interact with at the store, at the wherever you are, and you have all these connections. And these connections slowly disconnect you from who you are. And so my work is simply removing the parasitic energies and then cutting all of the connections so that you can be reset, so that you can be connected to, your true source. So that's kind of the analogy I like to look at and go, okay, this is how it works from a healing standpoint. It's about getting your energy flowing back to how it should be.
Yeah. But yeah, it requires behavioral change as well, right? Because I suppose, like just like what you said, right? Without changing our mindset, one energy clearing session wouldn't last. It might last for a couple of months, right? And if you go back to the same old patterns that you've been running, operating from, it's gonna be the same. So would it be? So would you say that is when you work with clients, again, using what the earlier the question that I had, which is without the other person's knowing that you are doing the work for that person, would it be more helpful if the person knows and support the whole process? Like, yeah, I'm going to change my mindset as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes that conversation needs to be had further down the track, and it depends on the person. But think about it like this. Let's say your sister's going through something that's very, she's kind of in a dark place, and she doesn't want anyone's help. And if these energetic parasites are manipulating her thoughts and her emotions, they're not necessarily her own. And so it's not about her habits, it's about these thoughts that are constantly implanted in her mind, right? And so if we were to just clear those out of there, she's automatically not going to have that negative self-talk. That's not a habit. The negative self-talk isn't a habit. It's a product of these entities or these parasites that I'm talking about. And so yes, by doing this work, it can change your direction in which what you're going, but it's about connecting you so that you're driving your ship, so to speak, not these parasites manipulating you in the direction they want you to go. It's definitely helpful to know so that you can, because one of the things I like to talk to clients about, I usually talk to them after I do the work, like a follow-up conversation to get their feedback and give them some advice, because a lot of them have questions on what I did when I email them. But one of the main things that I ask them to do after the work is done is really to pay attention to their thoughts and their emotions and question those thoughts and those emotions, because a lot of times if the thoughts and the emotions, if we separate ourselves from them and question, okay, where's that thought coming from, where's that emotion coming from, we're separating ourselves and we're not owning it as our own thought or emotion. And so you can't do that if you don't know that the work has been done. So yes, to your point, it's good to know, but sometimes it's better to know after the work's already done so the person can go, you know what, I do feel a lot better than I did 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? Or the person might be, I don't want to do that, don't waste your money. Well, if it's a loved one and you see they're, self-destructing and you want to help them, then, that's a good way to help them. So I see both sides. It's good to know. Sometimes it's okay not to know. It just really depends.
So again, yeah, back to what you were saying. How do you differentiate between external negative energies like these parasites that you are referring to versus the inner work, the inner shadow work that we had to deal with and work on ourselves?
Well, the inner shadow work that you talk about might be the energetic parasites. They might be one and the same thing. And maybe that person is meant to go through that shadow work for a certain amount of time. But if if I'm inserted into the picture, there's a reason for that. And so anytime you seek help and want someone to work with you energetically or do healing work for you, you're asking for help and you're helping with that shadow work. And to me, the shadow work is the shadow is the darkness of the energetic parasites. And it's in most cases, a lot of people pick up these parasites, from birth. And so you're dealing with this from day one, and it's just building and building and building. And it does create what you would call shadow work. But to me, our true essence of who we are, if we're really operating from our true self, we're coming from our heart space, and there's not much shadow in our hearts. And so maybe the shadow works its way trying to cover the heart. So to me, I guess the parasites and the inner shadow, to me, are essentially one and the same. And I'm sure that's very debatable for a lot of people. But the work I do, it's very simple to me. It's you're an organic being. Anything that's attached to you is inorganic, whether it's shadow or not. And those inorganic beings to me are parasites, and they just need to go away. And then once those parasites go away, maybe you have more shadow work to do. I don't know. But our souls or our energies keep keep track. We have like our soul has this record of trauma, from our lifetime. And so then we're carrying around these traumas a lot of times that we're using, to try to protect ourselves, which might be hindering us from opening up the path we need to be on. And so a lot of the work that I do is helping people release, past traumas, stuck emotions. And so the key thing in this work for your energy is getting your energy flowing. Everything has to be like in a constant flow. And an analogy I use for that is like a river. Say there's a river flowing down the mountainside, and as it's flowing, the water is typically crystal clear. You can see the rocks on the bottom, the grass on the banks is green, and everything's vibrant. Now, if you take a log and you block that flow, the water then becomes stagnant. Then the water becomes murky. You can't quite see through it. It becomes full of parasites, disease ridden. The foliage, the grass isn't so green, it's kind of brown. That's a blockage. And same with our energetic body. We create these blocks from certain events in our life. And so part of the work I'm doing is removing those logs theoretically so that the flow can happen. And then when the flow starts happening, and your body has this amazing ability to heal itself, but it can't really heal itself if there's not flow. And that's where a lot of the problem lies. And we can block our own flow by really trying to hold on to an emotion. If we hold on to this emotion, and the emotion, maybe it's serving us or maybe it's not, but emotions, I like to say, equals energy in motion. So it has to be a constant flow. And so if you have a constant flow, you can't hold on to that emotion. You want to acknowledge it, do what you will with it, and let it flow. And then the next one comes. So really it's all about the flow. Then you're reset, you're connected, and it does take work because, everyone's heard of, working on your mind, body, soul, or mind, body, spirit. You got to do work. It's what are we putting into our system? What foods are we eating? What alcohol are we drinking? What drugs are we taking that's really dumbing down our energy? So there's a lot of factors into this, but to me, the first place to start is removing the blockages and the parasites and helping the person connect to their true self. And then it's their job to work on their inner balance on a regular basis so that things can flow the way they should. And then their life just starts opening up for them. But it does take work. The clarity on stopping the mind, because the mind is like a thought machine, and it's just doing its job over and over. So you need to pray, meditate, still your mind, focus on your breath, do that type of practice, and that helps.
So when we do that kind of practice daily, would it lower the chances of those parasites coming even near us?
You are 100% right. So the more you work on your inner balance, things are flowing, and if there's a river flowing rapidly, the parasites are going to flow out with the river. But if it's stagnant, it's not going to flow out. But think about this. You've heard the term your aura, right? Some people they work on your aura, they see your aura, the colors, whatever they're seeing. I don't really know, but think of your aura as this bubble around you of like an invisible force field. Now, if we're producing that at 100%, these parasites can't get in because that invisible force field is really working. Now, let's say we drink too much wine or too much alcohol, it dumbs down our energy. When our energy is dumbed down, our aura, our bubble is not 100%. When we're eating garbage foods or we're taking prescription medications or doing narcotics, it's dumbing down our energy. When we're not getting enough sleep at night, sleep is very important. If we're having troubled sleep, we're not recharging our batteries. Our bubble, most people are walking around with their bubble at say 10, 20% when it should be 100%. And by working on your inner balance, it gets to 100%. So let's say you and your friend are walking around and you always work on your inner balance and you're 100%, and your friend doesn't, and they're say 10 or 15%, guess where the parasites are going to attach? To your friend, because it's hard to get in through your bubble because you have all of this energetic strength because you're working on that. It's like a muscle that you work out. It becomes stronger and stronger. And so by working on your inner balance, it gives you that level of protection. Now, it's not always 100%, but it just gives you better odds of not picking those up. And when you are free from these energetic parasites, you know the difference when you do pick one up because all of a sudden you can feel it. Where before, when you have so many of them, you don't notice when you pick one up here or there.
Interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. How do we know that I pick one up? Like, how do I? What would I feel when I pick one up, or one is like attached on me?
If you're really in tune to your body, a lot of times you can feel it right away. You might feel it in a slight headache or a very subtle thought that just keeps reoccurring. That's not really, you're like, that doesn't make sense. You pay attention to your body. Your body will always tell you, and it takes years of working on yourself to really get the feel for your body. Some people feel it in whatever part of their body that the parasite attaches to. For me, like I have, if I walk into a space, like say a building or a house or something, and it's full of negative energies or energetic parasites, immediately my left ear starts ringing off the hook. That's my physical body's alarm system saying, "Hey, there's a lot of crazies in here." And so then I clear the space, and the ringing stops instantly. So for me, that's how I tell. Or in most cases, when I'm working with people, because I'm working with a lot of darkness, you got to understand there's a lot of like evil in this world, and people that come to me are coming to me when they're really, really struggling. And sometimes I'm dealing with some really nasty stuff. And when I'm doing the work, that energy tries to attack me as well. And when it does, I feel a really sharp pain right here in my left lobe. And as soon as I feel that pain, it's like a very sharp pain. I can clear myself in a matter of seconds and it goes away. So my body instantly tells me when something's trying to attach to my energy. But I've been doing this for enough years that it didn't happen this way. It just over time is me doing this and paying attention. But the point I'm making is if you really pay attention, you'll start to feel signs from your physical body when a parasite tries to attach. Or even like your intuition when you're talking to someone and you know they're lying to you or they're trying to get you for something. You have this gut feeling. It's the same sort of thing. Trust your gut, trust your body. But you can't trust your gut or your body if you're not connected. And the problem is a lot of us are just disconnected from who we are because we've been dealing with these parasites our whole life. At least that's my view on this. And there's other people that will have completely different views, but that's how I view things, is through your energy, outside energies, clear those energies, keep the flow going. It's that simple.
Yeah. So can you teach us practices or techniques to protect our energy? For people who are highly sensitive, they feel drained by environment, by people. So what are the steps that we can clear our energy?
Yeah, so it starts with taking time for yourself. And people that are most sensitive, empaths would be the word for it. An empath is someone that feels everything. And empaths that's their superpower, right? They're able to really feel and help people. The problem with most empaths is they're so busy helping everyone around them, they don't take time for themselves. It's like when you fly on the airplane, they do the safety briefing. Put on your mask before the child's mask. Well, you have all these empaths running around putting on everyone's mask while they're suffocating, right? They're losing air. So take time for yourself. It's easy to say, but it's hard to do for some people because everyone, those empaths, those sensitive people, put everyone first. So take time for yourself, even if it's 10 minutes a day, first thing in the morning or before you go to bed, and sit in silence. I like to take 10 minutes twice a day and just focus on breathing and quiet my mind. As a thought comes into my mind, which it does, then I go, oh no, no, focus on how it feels breathing in and breathing out. If you do that on a daily practice, you're going to get a lot better at connecting. And it's about connecting, to your true self. But we don't take time to do that. And so that's the biggest thing is take time for yourself and do things that you really enjoy. And empaths will say, but I really enjoy helping people. That feeds me. It makes me feel good but yeah, but you're no good to anybody if you're not good for yourself. So start with yourself. That's the key takeaway for sensitive people, is that taking time for yourself. And then that leads to other things, because the more you do that, your intuition grows and you start having a better understanding of, oh, I should do this. I shouldn't be doing this anymore. That's kind of the path starts with sitting in silence and really just, connecting.
I love that. Yeah. So what should people expect after a session with you, after getting their energy cleared? What would be some of the symptoms that their energy has been cleared?
Yeah, so everyone's a little bit different. The biggest feedback I get from everyone is, oh, I feel so much lighter. They don't feel as heavy, but there's some very specific things that people are going through. It could be someone's hearing voices. You would expect the voices to stop. Someone that's having nightmares, you would expect those to stop. Someone that has a lot of anxiety, someone that has a lot of negative self-talk, um, someone that has headaches or migraines, you would expect those to stop. So there's some very clear indicators that it's been successful. But if you have some, say the average person comes to me and doesn't have a very specific, they just feel off, it's a little harder to go, well, did it work? Because you didn't really have too much of a specific problem or a specific issue. But typically, what they'll find is over the next few weeks or few months, the people around them will start treating them differently. They'll be like, I've had people come to me and say, Herman, I feel a little bit lighter, but I don't know if it really worked. And then that was 2 weeks. And then a month later, they'll email me, you know what? Everyone around me is a lot nicer to me. My husband just told me I'm a much easier person to be around. So people around him start noticing the subtleties when the work's done. But if someone has a specific issue, we try to address that, and that's very easy to tell. But people that are just, I feel off, they typically should feel lighter and feel a little more connected, and their path should start opening up for them.
So would you be able to heal physical pain as well in the body? For example, let's say someone, go to you and say, Herman, I feel pain in my left knee and I don't know why it's been there for a long time. Doctor says there's nothing wrong with it. So would you be able to heal that part as well? Physical pain.
Yes, but not all the time. And the reason I say that is, I have clients, and I work with people from all over the world, but I have clients that become members. I have a membership program that's very inexpensive where people can email me anytime, and I work on their energy. And I have several clients that'll email me or text, Herman, my left foot is really hurting. Can you send healing? And I'll send healing and it'll disappear. Or, man, Herman, I got a migraine coming, and I stop the migraine before it happens. So sometimes yes, but I can't say yes, I can fix whatever ailment you have, because I have no idea. Most ailments start as an energetic issue, but then when it becomes a physical issue, sometimes it needs different type of medical attention. But the root problem, I work on the root issue by fixing the root issue. And then when, like I was saying earlier, when the energy is flowing through your body like that river, the body then has that ability to heal itself. But the problem is we're not able to heal ourselves because we have so many blockages. So sometimes yes, and I've even had people, want their energy clearing for something else, and all of a sudden their back stops hurting. So yes and no. It's helped a lot of people with physical issues, but then I have people that have like arthritis or whatever, and it still consists. The arthritis is still there. But yeah, so I can't say that it does, but sometimes it does.
Yeah. So is one session enough? Do you usually just do one session or, multiple sessions or follow-ups like with a client? Or it depends on their issues as well?
Yeah, so it depends on their environment. So you got to think about the person's environment. But so when I work with someone, when they pay for a session, I give a 90-day window, so 3 months, which is plenty of time to work on that person. So it's not a one
Okay.
time. A lot of times it's a one and done, and then I ask them for the first couple weeks, give me your feedback, and then I might do a little bit more based off their feedback. Or I'll work with them, and then after about 60 days, they're like, hey, can you do that again? And I do it again, and then they're off and running. Now, people that, like you were talking about earlier, sensitive people, empaths, they need it on a regular basis. And So because they're just so absorbing everything around them. And so I give the 90-day window. So I work with them for 90 days and usually on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis, depending on their environment. But I set up a membership program that's very inexpensive. It's a monthly fee. It's like 15.99 US dollars. And it gives them the ability to reach out to me anytime. And so a lot of the sensitive people, I have hundreds of people on my membership program. And so I'm getting texts and emails all the time, clear me, clear me, clear me. But with the membership, I check in on them twice a month anyway. So a lot of times I'm clearing the energy before they even know that it's there. So it's kind of like an insurance program for the people that really felt good about my work and don't want to go back to how they were. So they're like, yeah, that's a pretty good deal. And then, so I'm working on people on a couple times a month without them knowing. I email them and say, hey, I just cleared your energy. And typically response is, thanks, I needed that. So sensitive people, yeah, they're going to need a little bit more work more frequently just because of who they are. But then think about it like this too: doctors and nurses that work in hospitals. So most nurses are a good example. They work shift work, so they're working like 12-hour shifts. And the hospitals, what kinds of energies are in the hospitals? It's nasty stuff. It's fear, it's death, it's despair, it's anxiety. And so when you're working a lot and your energy's down, worn down because you're working so much, it's easy to soak up those energies from your environment. So I work with a lot of nurses and doctors that pick up stuff on a regular basis, or they might, or police officers. I have a few police officers, and they're working with very toxic people, and it's a parasite. It can go from person to person like that, and they feel it, and so then they just send me a text, Herman, clear me, and then when I've already worked with someone, if someone texts me, as soon as I see the text, it's literally a 5-second process for me to clear their energy because it's all done on the power of my intent. I focus my intention on the person to make it happen, and it happens. So it's a pretty good system for empaths, so to speak. Anyone else, right? Usually, but some
Yeah,
people don't pick it up quite as much as others.
yeah. Well, but I'm sure there are also people who are skeptical, especially towards work, like energy work, because you can't really measure it, or, can't really see it, it's not tangible. So what would you say to someone, perhaps one of my listeners who is skeptical after hearing about everything, but still curious, but unsure whether this works or this is real, whether this is measurable? What would you say to them?
Yeah, there's always going to be skeptics, and I think it's really good for people to really think critically about stuff, not just take people's word for it, and trust me, when I started doing this, I was skeptical about it too. I was like, how does this isn't even possible to do? And so I've had a lot of people, call me all kinds of things because they think it's crazy. But I've had way more people with success that really appreciate the work that I'm doing. So if someone's on the fence, I'm not here to convince someone to work with me. That's not how my business operates. People come to my website and they reach out with me. They reach out to me with questions or help. So I'm not out soliciting to random people saying, "Come see me. I can fix your problems." People come to me, so I don't have to deal with a lot of skepticism with clients because they're coming to me. But to listeners, just I appreciate people thinking critically, and if you want to have a conversation with me, I would be happy to offer a free 15-minute consultation for any of your listeners. Just drop me an email from my website, and we can set up a 15-minute phone call, and I can explain exactly what my process is and what you can expect. And if it resonates with you and you want to do it, then great. If it doesn't resonate with you, then it's okay. No hard feelings from me. There's multiple ways to, work on your inner balance. This is just the way that it works for me, the way I view it versus, the organic being and the inorganic beings attaching. So, but I'm sure there's other ways. But yeah, skepticism is a good thing in most cases, but a lot of times skepticism is driven by a belief system, and belief systems are like putting blinders on to everything else in the world around you. And as soon as we say this is the only way that things can work, then don't listen to that person because there's multiple ways.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. Also, the generous offer for my listeners, a 15 minutes free consultation call with you. Now, before we end, thank you so much for your time and generous sharing. Before we end, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Perhaps I didn't ask you or didn't let you.
I think we covered, you had some really good questions. I appreciate that. I might have given a few long answers, but I think you covered everything. If people want to reach out to me, my website's the best way. But yeah, I appreciate your questions. They were good.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you as well and your time and your insights. I'll put all your links, your website, all your pages on the show note below. So guys, you can visit the show note and you can find all the information and connect with Herman if you have any other questions, if you're curious, if you want to grab the free consultation call with him. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another episode coming to you every Wednesday. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning into Find Joy Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a screenshot and share it on your IG story and take Find Joy Joyan_podcast so I know you are listening. And leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And remember to hit the subscribe button whether you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or any of your other favorite platforms. If you love what we are doing and want to become one of our sponsors, you can send me a DM to connect. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon in the next episode.